You're watching the best fantasy football show, and we're going to make it through this episode just fine as long as somebody doesn't screw it up. What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching the couch. These are my week 9 waiver wire pickups. Shout out to last week's fantasy football winner, Klafka. Congratulations, bro. You won a Kareem Hunt jersey. That was a jersey of your choice. Make sure you guys watch my next video coming out in a couple days later this week for entry in my week 9 fantasy football contest. That's right, I'm bringing it back. If you want to see more waiver wire videos like this one, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you won't miss anything. Now on to the waivers. Are you an Aaron Rodgers owner? If so, I would say there's a 95% chance that you should drop him if there's no IR spot in your league. The earliest he's gonna return is probably week 15, and that scenario I think is unlikely. So that's what, the second to last game if you make it that far in the playoffs. And if you did draft Aaron Rodgers, you got him super early, and you're probably gonna need to hustle to make playoffs. So your first priority needs to be winning now and making playoffs. There are no good quarterbacks to pick up. Deshaun Watson's long gone by now. So we're stuck with guys like Jared Goff going against the Giants, Josh McCown playing Thursday against Buffalo Bills. Bills are a legit defense. I don't have that high expectations for Jimmy Garoppolo this year, but there is some upside. The Niners traded a second-round pick. That means they really believe in him. I think he can be a decent QB2 on your team. If you're in a dual quarterback league, he's an absolute must pick up. And in deeper leagues, we have Brett Huntley, Drew Stanton, and Ryan Mallett, just in case Joe Flacco isn't gonna play, but I think he's trending more towards playing week 9. Going on to the RB position, I think it's about time to drop Buck Allen. The Ravens have a bye week 10, unless you're in a deep league, you absolutely need to use him this week. I get that, but other than that, I think it's time to drop him. Danny Woodhead is almost certainly going to return week 11, and Alex Collins is playing extremely well. Just look at how he runs. Look at his yards per carry. It's insane. And that's why he's number 1 on my list. Also, Wendell Smallwood is basically a must drop now. LeGarrette Blount hasn't been that bad. In fantasy, not that great, especially in PPR leagues. But in real life, he's been okay. And Smallwood hasn't really done that much. Now, the Eagles have Jay Ajayi, making Smallwood, he's basically a non-factor now. He has almost no fantasy value. So I would drop Smallwood for sure. Also, Gillislee, he's on bye. He's on, Patriots running back. Patriots use 4 running backs every game. It's kind of insane. He hasn't had a touchdown since his first 2 games and has 0 receptions this year. So if you're in a PPR league, I definitely drop him. If you're in a shallow league, I definitely drop him. The only reason I'd hold on to him is if you're desperate for a running back and you're in a deep league. Preferably standard, because in PPR he has very little to no value at this point. Hopefully it's not that big of a surprise, at least not to me, that Alex Collins is number 1. I just went over why he's so good. In standard leagues, he gets a boost. He doesn't really catch the football. He has a decent matchup going against the Titans, and the Ravens ran the ball a little bit. They did it okay last week. I think Collins, even when Woodhead comes back, he'll have a significant role in this offense. Danny Woodhead is at number 2, a must pick up in PPR leagues, set to return week 11. Then we have Alfred Morris, and why Alfred Morris isn't ranked higher, even though he's going to be the starter, still we will probably see a lot of Darren McFadden and some Rod Smith. So that's why Alfred Morris isn't my number 1 pickup this week, and not even my number 1 RB pickup, but he's definitely worth an add in a lot of leagues. We're talking about 6 weeks. We're talking about a great O-line. Alfred Morris doesn't look that bad on the Cowboys. He's no Zeke Elliott, but when you got bye weeks and there's not that many RBs going down all the time, you could do a whole lot worse than Alf Morris. Who will be the starter in Miami now that Ajayi is gone? I'm thinking it's going to be Kenyon Drake. At least that's what beat reporters out in Miami are saying. It could be wrong. It could be Damian Williams, but I'm going to rank Kenyon Drake ahead of Damian Williams. Damian Williams nearly has twice as many offensive snaps as Drake. He has 13 targets while Drake only has 6 targets in the past game. But hey, they're saying Drake's going to be the starter. I can definitely believe that. I'm ranking Drake ahead of Damian Williams. Neither back is ideal. I mean, this is a little similar to the Cowboys situation. There's a question mark there. The only, I'd say the Cowboys offense is better. The team is better. The offensive line is better. So that's why I would rank Alfred Morris ahead of any Dolphins running back. Even though it's only 6 games, 6 games is a lot. That's going to last all the way through playoffs. I like Marlon Mack. Look, right now he's owned in about 34% of leagues, and Frank Gore's owned in around 80% of leagues, I think. And those numbers, I just, like when I see numbers like that, I want to make sure I discuss these players in these videos, because it should be more like, Marlon Mack should be owned more like in 55% of leagues, let's say, and Frank Gore maybe like in 60%. Like it should be less. Like it shouldn't be that far apart. Like that's way too far apart. I would rather have Marlon Mack at this point. More upside, younger. He's been doing more damage in the passing game. Frank Gore hasn't really done much the past couple of years. Look, he's good. He's done great. He's had a good career. But, I mean, he's very old for a running back, and he's on the Colts. I'd rather have Marlon Mack than Frank Gore. We already went over Damian Williams. Already talked about Darren McFadden. Probably gets a small boost in PPR leagues. Alfred Morris doesn't catch the ball well. So he is a little bit better in standard leagues, Alfred Morris, that is. We also have Jonathan Stewart, not a guy with a lot of upside, but a guy that people hate. And when it comes to RBs, there's worse players than Jonathan Stewart out there, but I didn't rank him that high. Not a lot of upside, and we do like upside. We need upside, we need touchdowns. Moving on to a little bit deeper leagues here, we have Orleans Darkwa, Matt Breida, TJ Yeldon, who might start seeing some playing time. He's usually inactive as long as Fournette is playing, but now he might see some PT. Malcolm Brown is an excellent handcuff for Gurley owners. We have Devontae Booker. He's more of a PPR and garbage time play. We saw Jamal Charles get a lot of carries this year, especially last game, and CJ Anderson is hands down the featured back. And then Devontae Booker comes in to catch passes at garbage time. So it may be a little bit fool's gold. People that don't do a lot of research may boom, snag up Booker in PPR leagues. But he's really not that good. At the same time, in deep PPR leagues, he's worth a look at if you do need a running back. The bye weeks are hidden. And we also have Rod Smith and Austin Eckler, who is a rookie on the Chargers. The Chargers are on bye this week, by the way. Was really hard to rank the wide receivers this week. Lots of, man, what the heck? It was really hard. So I got to go with Robbie Anderson, number 1. Jeremy Curley is suspended. I didn't look up why. Does anyone know why he's suspended? It didn't say why. I know he's suspended, though. So he's suspended by the league, I believe. And we saw McCown look more towards Robbie Anderson. And I think this guy's a good pickup. And Josh McCown's actually playing pretty well this year, surprisingly well. Jamison Crowder, he finally had one good game. And that's why I'm not ranking you number 1, Crowder. I don't trust you, not yet. D.D. Westbrook is set to return. And I like this guy. I picked him up in one league with the IR spot. So right now he's chilling on IR. I probably have to move him soon. He has a lot of upside. And that's kind of what we like. You know, when you picked up, to be realistic right now, when you picked up Will Fuller, you expected him to be your wide receiver 4 at best, probably. Maybe wide receiver 5 in some leagues with deeper benches. And right now, he's like your wide receiver 2. I mean, he's borderline must start every week. And that's kind of like the players that we want. And Will Fuller's case it's almost impossible. You know, Deshaun Watson, Will Fuller, those guys are playing. It's insane. It's unfathomable how well those two are playing. It's just crazy. And both of them, you know, waiver pickups as well in fantasy. D.D. Westbrook, yeah, he's likely not going to have Will Fuller's upside, but he can be, always comparing him to D-Jax, Deshaun Watson. And I think that's more realistic upside. He could be the best receiver on the Jaguars, Good chance he won't be, but he has that upside. That's why I ranked him so high. Another player people hate on, Mike Wallace, going against the tight ends. Good matchup. He is hurt though, so check up on his status. Don't start someone that's injured. Juju Smith-Schuster is kind of becoming a must pick up here. He is on bye, however. I just wanted to put that out there, so you may not be able to pick him up this week. But if you have the bench room and you need a wide receiver, need some wide receiver depth, Juju Smith-Schuster. Josh Doxson's a wide receiver I picked up in a lot of leagues because of that upside, because he's starting now. He didn't do well. He hasn't done amazing yet, but I think he should be owned. I mean, this guy's my wide receiver 5 on all my teams. So, hey, it is what it is. I don't know. I don't really trust anybody on Washington. I really don't. I trust Chris Thompson more. But I mean, this guy's starting, and I believe in Kirk Cousins. If that offense can get back in their groove, I do like Doxson. We also have Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Paul Richardson, Kenny Golladay, who is hurt but has a good matchup going against the Packers. So check up on his status, check on his practice participation throughout the week. Tyler Lockett, John Ross, Russell Shepard, and Curtis Samuel. I just put those 2 guys in because Kelvin Benjamin is now a Buffalo Bill. Funchess gets a huge boost, and Russell Shepard and Curtis Samuel also get a small boost, not a big. They get a tiny boost. For tight ends, Charles Clay should be coming back real soon, and just after he comes back, I expect Greg Olsen to come back. Those 2 are basically must-stashes. And I think Greg Olsen's value goes up too now that Kelvin Benjamin is out for sure. That 1 year Kelvin Benjamin missed the entire season, which would have been his sophomore year. Greg Olsen played amazing, and Cam Newton played amazing. We're going back to that again. So no Kelvin, and Greg Olsen's coming back. You gotta like that. Both these guys are very good. Like you might want to go with Greg Olsen over Charles Clay, but I expect Clay to return before Greg Olsen. That's why I kind of flipped it this week, and I'm putting Clay number 1. After doing some thinking, I was like, I gotta put Clay number 1. Jack Doyle, I shouldn't have dropped him. I thought he sucked without Andrew Luck. He played amazing last week against the Bay. It seemed like every single play went to Jack Doyle, and he's now like a top 5 or top 6 tight end or something. Gosh, that's insane. So he's playing really well, and with all these tight end woes going on, I think you got to pick up Jack Doyle if you need a tight end. Jordan Reed is hurt, so Vernon Davis, same story. You got to pick him up. He's really good on that team when Jordan Reed is banged up. George Kittle, this kind of goes with the Jimmy G upside thing. Like, George Kittle has been horrible, especially with Beathard the past couple weeks. But when Jimmy G is going to start, which Jimmy Garoppolo's probably not, he's not going to start week 9, all right? But after that, he'll probably start. And George Kittle, man, he's going to have some upside. I like this tight end. I think he's decent. I don't think he can perform with the quarterbacks they had, like Hoyer and Beathard. I think he has a good amount of upside with a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo. We also have the boom or bust tight end, Austin Hooper, who did well week 9. And, you know, he was on this list. And in deeper leagues, we have A.J. Derby, Ryan Griffin, who's not doing well at all because Deshaun Watson, he doesn't like to check down and throw like 1 or 2 touchdowns. He likes to throw 5 touchdowns to Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins. That's kind of his thing. So Ryan Griffin's being left out, but good matchup against the Colts. If you're in a deep league, maybe consider him. And we have Ben Watson, who's kind of old, and I guess that's why I put him so low. But he's actually been okay. He's been kind of consistent. He hasn't been that bad. A lot of defenses to pick up this week. A lot of good ones. And the problem with this list is that a lot of these defenses are owned in a lot of leagues. It kind of varies with kickers and defenses. Some leagues, they own totally different set of kickers, while other leagues own totally different set of defenses. Like, it's just the way it goes. It totally varies from league to league. Like, I know a lot of leagues that had, let's say, Matt Bryant on waivers. Some leagues had Justin Tucker on waivers. Like, you really don't know. It really depends. So that's why I gave you guys a long list. So Some elite defenses, I think, this week are the Rams, Texans, Ravens, and Cardinals. This Cardinals game should be extremely low scoring. Vegas actually has it as the lowest scoring point total at 39.5. And they have the Cardinals winning by 1 or 2 points. It was started out with 1, and last time I looked at it, it was 2. So it's going to be a low-scoring game. Could be sloppy. Drew Stanton's playing. It could be pretty bad. And I mean, I also got the Niners D on here. I think they are the top sleeper defense this week. They're going to be really underrated, really slept on. And what's cool about them, you know, I'm probably going to talk about them in the DFS video. They're probably going to be super cheap. I didn't even do my DFS research yet. But what's cool about in season-long leagues is you might be able to get these guys off free agency and not need to use any of your FAAB budget or whatever you're playing, or in my case, in my league, use a waiver priority. Man, that's going to be awesome. If you could get Niners defense free agency, I would definitely take that. We have the Lions going against Aaron Rodgers-less Packers. Bengals going against the Jags. That might be kind of a low-scoring game there. Of course, the Jags defense is ranked and projected way higher than the Bengals, but still, and Jags are projected to win, but still, could be low-scoring. Bengals D has been okay. And Steelers D, I had to put this team on here. Man, I told everyone before the draft, before the season started, hey man, I'm telling you, this Jags D is a lot of upside, and also said, hey, if you can't get the Jags D late, there's the Steelers D. They have some good matchups. But other than having some good matchups this year, they've actually played very well, very consistent, and they're probably one of the top reasons, other than Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, why their record is so freaking good. What do they have? 6 wins? I think they're 6-2. Wow, the Steelers D is playing very well, and this is the type of defense, especially if you're in a deep league, if you have a deep bench, you probably want to hold on to. They do have a few good matchups coming up. Like before the season, I'm looking at, oh, they're playing the Colts. That's not good. They'll put up a ton of points. But just like last year, they're playing the Colts without Andrew Luck, and that turns into a super sweet matchup if you're a Steelers defense owner. And getting a little deeper, we have the Bills D, Niners D, already talked about them, the Falcons D. No Olsen, no Kelvin Benjamin, so I got to give the Falcons a little bit of boost. Falcons were one of the few teams that beat the Panthers that one year they went to the Super Bowl. We have the Saints going against the Bucks. Saints defense has been playing well this year. Giants going against the Rams. Titans going against the Ravens. And if for some reason the small chance Flacco doesn't play, Titans defense gets a huge boost. And in super duper deep leagues, we have the Raiders defense. This week, based on the matchup and just to stream a kicker, I really like Kymie Fairbairn. That's the Houston Texans kicker. Excellent matchup going against the Colts. I love it. Before Harrison Butker kicked 1 field goal this season, he was my #1 waiver wire pickup. I forget what week it was, like 5 weeks ago. And he missed his first field goal, and I was sweating a little bit. I was like, wait, the hater comments are going to come. But after that, he's actually been perfect. I don't know how many field goals, maybe 17 or 18 he's made in a row. He's been lights out. So not based on the matchup this week or anything. I just think he's a great kicker. He is an elite kicker. He's on a good offense. If you can pick him up, I kind of feel comfortable starting him just about every game. He has reached that tier 1 kicker status. And I'm not gonna go, we're not gonna analyze every kicker. I know you guys love when I analyze every kicker, but we're not. We're just gonna go through the list. Zuerlein, Matt Prater, playing against the Packers. We have Blair Walsh, Will Lutz, Ryan Suckup, Josh Lambo, the Raiders kicker, Giorgio Tavecchio, Graham Gano, Patrick Murray, Robbie Gould, and Phil Dawson's Creek in the second revenge game. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe couch icon over here. Like the video, leave a comment below, and use hashtag AskTheBrain. Happy Halloween.